Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Kanan's Cadence, the show where I talk about my interests, hobbies, and experiences at my own pace and with my own rhythm. Happy December at this point in time of recording at the very least. It's starting to get really, really cold. I've been saying it since really, I want to say the summer of this year, a few months ago. I have had a sinking feeling that this winter, for us over here, it's going to be exceptionally cold, like infinitely colder than it's been the last few winters, or at the very least over the last, I want to say like 5 to 6 years or so. We haven't had temperatures getting this low, and we've already started to see some snow. We haven't had this type of weather like this early into December in quite some time. Again, the first snowfall that I've seen so far, over by me, was a couple weeks into November, which that was immediately like a tip off for me. Like, yeah, I think that I was onto something with this whole weather situation here. Which again, winter is supposed to be cold. We're not into winter proper quite yet, but it's supposed to be cold at this time of the year. So it's not something that I can really be surprised about. It's just that the last few years it hasn't gotten this cold this quickly. So it's kind of jarring in a lot of ways, but just gotta prepare for it. Gotta bundle up, make sure the heat's going. I'll probably start busting out the hot chocolate pretty soon at this point, and yeah, just buckle in for a pretty cold winter again, as we still have a couple weeks before the season starts properly at this point in time. So anyway, yeah, a couple days ago, Thanksgiving passed. I guess a week ago at this point in time. Hope everyone had a good holiday, as I said in the last episode. And I kind of in that episode, I had kind of given myself an idea of what I wanted to talk about today. I had mentioned that I make it a point, after following along with Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic, doing something called Disney December, watching a film every single day, something having to do with Disney or Disney adjacent properties. So that was my idea, but I decided that I want to hold off talking about that just a little longer. Early this morning, I want to say maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, just happened to wake up middle of the night. And I don't know why, but like it just kind of hit me that rather than talking about any types of Disney movies or movies in general right now, I wanted to talk more about photography. Spoke about that several weeks ago at this point, couple months at this point in time. I think it was my third episode that I recorded. This is episode 11. My friend Ashley pointed out to me that I had, as of earlier this week when I uploaded my Thanksgiving episode, that was the 10th one. And I was kind of blown away by that. I'm just like, how the hell have I already done 10 of these? And then she proceeded to say, just like, oh, before you know it, you'll be at episode 100. I'm just like, that's way too many. So we'll see. But one way or another, I'm like, episode 11, here we are now. And I haven't spoken about photography in some time. And I wanted to talk about it because of a couple things, a couple developments for me over the last couple of weeks. So, um, as I've said before, and just to recap a little bit, been finding more and more interest in photography over the last few months, I want to say. And it hasn't even been all that long. I've always had an interest in that as a field or even just as a hobby, but I never really did a whole lot with it. Not until a few months ago when I went to DC, I decided to buy a very beginner camera, just bring that with me on my trip, start to utilize it, see if I can figure out how it works. And it took me a little bit to realize, but even with a beginner camera where I thought that I was taking some pretty good pictures, I still had, and honestly, right now, feel like I still have no idea of how to properly work a camera, which is kind of crazy. When I was there and just utilizing this one, I didn't mess with any settings. I had the camera set to just the auto mode and whatever, so it was doing everything for me. And I was just like, yeah, man, I'm a photographer. But realistically, let me say, um, yeah, that is, I want to say, like baby's first photography course, like right there, like the way that I was using it, just like, oh my god, like auto mode, these pictures are coming out so great. I guess that I'm awesome. No, that's not how it works at all. And so, I've over the last few months, I've had the idea of like, okay, well, got to figure out how to use cameras properly one way or another, and I'm not going to be able to do that all by myself. Like I could probably stumble into certain things, but I'm not. Especially like I only have so much time on my hands, so much patience at that, And I feel like if I tried to teach myself every little thing having to do with the camera, I would get bored really quickly and then I would end up just jumping ship and not committing to this whole idea of going to school for some sort of camera work. Right now, I'm actually kind of floating between whether I want to study photography or cinematography, just in general, because I love both. Right now, as I'm working with the camera just to take pictures, I realize I gotta first and foremost come to understand how the camera works before I decide on either of those as a field. See which one calls to me more. But either way, I like I said, I was thinking of like, okay, well, I can't teach myself all this stuff. I shouldn't try to teach myself all this stuff. So where can I go? What can I do even to like maybe find like instructors for how camera works? Maybe there are classes that I could take if I have to drive out somewhere. So I start doing some research and I realize that as far as like places that kind of appeal to me, the best that I could get in terms of like proximity to where I live, for in-person camera classes would have been to go all the way out into Manhattan, and I don't want to do that. Not right now, at the very least. I don't have a whole lot of time on my hands. I don't have a whole lot of money that I can throw towards weekly classes or like bi-weekly classes or anything like that. I can't really afford to do that right now. But I still wanted to do something, so I decided to just keep looking around. So I ended up calling up this one place. I don't know. They were somewhere out in Nassau County. They were far enough from me where it would have maybe been like at the very least an hour drive in either direction. Um, Traffic being an additional factor to that, and I would have actually by the time that I had called them, I just remember like I had just barely missed a course that they had done or like a seminar or whatever it was where it was like photography 101 in a sense where they had just gone through like a beginner class of like, okay, well, this is how you want to get started. These are things to do, things to look for, and that had just passed like maybe a week prior. And the next time, this place does regular camera classes and photography classes, so that was cool. But like the next one that would have been like a beginner class, which is kind of what I need, starting out at the very least. Next one would have been for several months, from what I understand. They didn't even have it scheduled. So that was a bummer. I just barely missed an opportunity to do that. But at the same time, now I decided, okay, well, let me not stop there. Let me not just wait for these guys. Let me see if there's anything else that I can do. So I stumble upon this photography masterclass that's online, put together by these three guys. I'm blanking on their names. I think their names, I don't want to say just because I don't want to butcher any of them, unfortunately. I can't remember who the actual three guys are, but they put up a class through Udemy, which I'd never heard of Udemy. From what I understand, it's been around for probably at least 15 years, like this online like educational platform where people can upload courses and stuff like that have like coursework, videos, seminars, activities, stuff like that. Um, and like the types of topics like there can vary. I don't know a whole lot about it myself, but I happened to find that there was a photography masterclass on Udemy that these guys had put out a couple of years ago. Like this, I think, the second version of it. They had done one, and then they got a lot of feedback. So then they did an enhanced version, an updated version that had like taken a lot of like consumer feedback into consideration. They implemented a lot of new material and stuff, and a lot more interactivity. They even have like they created like their own like photography social media platform and stuff that their students on Udemy are able to access and like interact with each other, post their pictures. I think that that's really really cool. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. How much does it cost? Because there's no way this would be cheap. It has like 87 hours worth of content in it, and I'm like, that's a lot. And people are like, the reviews are soaring and stuff. So I decide to look into it, see how much it costs, and I got stupidly lucky. By the time that I was looking into this course, it had 5 more hours in its sale where it dropped down from I think maybe like $150 to $22. And I was like, well, I'd be an idiot if I didn't jump at that. I don't even know what this is, but I'm like, $22, like that's a huge, huge drop off. That's just under or that's just over 10% of its like actual cost from what I remember. And I'm like, wow, that's really, really good. So I decide to purchase that and take a look to see what it's like. And in just a couple of weeks, because this is maybe going back like almost 3 weeks ago, if that, it was middle to end of November that I had started doing this. In just a couple of weeks going through these video classes, and I've done very few. I want to say maybe I've done like an hour or 2 hours worth of courses, if that. Um, I've already seen like a substantial improvement in just not just my pictures that I take, but also just my understanding of the camera. And I'm honestly like, I've kind of been shocked. Like, I've shocked myself with it. The course itself has shocked me. I've been like, wow, really? Like, is this all that it takes for me to just do this sort of thing? And obviously, it's like, there are going to be things to it where it's like it would be better for me to have like direct interaction with like a teacher or like other individuals and stuff like that when it comes to the work that I do with a camera. But even just like the basic stuff, like starting out. So, as an example, like I had until just a couple weeks ago absolutely no idea how things worked with a camera, as I said. As like simple a concept as even like exposure or something like that. And I don't know how many people like fully understand what exposure is unless they know how to work a camera, but I hear the term all the time. It's very very basic. It's literally just like how light or how dark is your picture or your composition that you're putting together. Again, like simple concept. I never fully understood it myself, but even just hearing the definition, I'm just like, okay, well, that makes sense. I'm like, I don't want my picture to be too bright depending on the context. Don't want it to be too dark depending on the context. Kind of just a default middle ground is what we want to aim for. Um, like certain variables notwithstanding, of course. But anyway, like just beginning, I'm like, okay, if a photo is overexposed, it's too bright. If it's underexposed, then it's too dark. That sort of thing. I didn't know what that meant until just a couple weeks ago. All it took was just watching a couple videos on Udemy through this course. And when I started to listen to, again, like these three guys, I think that I want to say oh, there it is. It's Sam, Phil, and Will. Like those are the guys' names. They put together this course, and each of them has like they take like certain areas of the course content, and they will make their videos. They will give like tutorials, demonstrations, all that type of stuff, and they'll work with each other on that. And they give like really good explanations of these things. So I started out, I think it was Phil was the one who was doing the class on exposure. And there are three components to exposure that I was never really aware of. I'd heard the terms aperture, shutter speed, ISO, like those three things. I didn't know what those things meant. All I knew was that, okay, well, these are features on my camera, but just a few videos, and then I feel like I have a much more firm understanding of what those three things actually mean when they're utilized, how they play off of one another, and what they actually do to impact the quality of a picture or a video or whatever it is. Shutter speed, actually, no, that wouldn't really impact a video all that much, but one way or another, like the idea is still there. I understand what they mean more so. So I have been ever since I started doing these courses on Udemy, I decided that I wanted to do even more with like just taking pictures because there's like I can't just watch the videos, take notes off of the videos, and do nothing with it. In fact, the three guys again, Sam, Phil, and Will, like they encourage that you utilize what you learn from basically every single video, go and try and apply it in some way or another. Obviously, it's like okay, well, it's a class, you got to do that. Just having an instructor tell you what to do, but you're not practicing it, you're not going to get anywhere with it. So I started utilizing what they were saying about exposure when I started learning about exposure on my camera that I bought back in July before my DC trip. And as I was doing that, I realized right away that I was like, okay, this camera that was super inexpensive, a little kind of stupidly beginner friendly, um, this camera's not going to cut it anymore. I got it for maybe $200. That was my Kodak Pix Pro. It served its purpose, but only for a few months before I actually understood other aspects of the camera, like how you want to use it, what you want in terms of like features and stuff. That Pix Pro doesn't have any like changeable lenses. It has like very, very restrictive aperture size and shutter speed and ISO and all these other things. And I just came to realize I'm like, okay, well, it's only been at that point I was like, okay, it's only been about 5 months, 5.5 months, something like that. Let me no, not even, like maybe 4 months or something like that. But I was like, I need a different camera. So I went and I actually ended up buying a new camera. This one is definitely a step above, but still like a beginner mirrorless digital camera. It's what is it? It's the Canon EOS R100. I got that from Best Buy. The camera's maybe like I got it for about like $400 to $500. It was a Black Friday deal. I got lucky with it, saved maybe like 150, $200 on that camera. So that was nice. So I bought that, and immediately I started having a lot more fun with this one than the Kodak camera that I was using. This one can actually change its lenses. It's got higher resolution. It's got a bigger screen, wider aperture. Um, so I started playing around with that. And just knowing what I know about exposure now, like one of my first instincts was to take this camera, go on a walk when I was on my break at work, and just start snapping some pictures. And I got some good shots. I thought that I again, like I was kind of impressing myself. I'm like, okay, well, even just these basic things are enough to get me to understand how to take better pictures. And that was cool, like adjusting the shutter speed, if I want something to be brighter, lower the shutter speed. If I want it to be darker, increase the shutter speed, and all that type of stuff, whatever it is. And so I was messing around with that, and then I came to realize just a couple days after buying this camera that, oh shoot, this camera, its fixed lens that it comes with, or not fixed, but its default lens that it comes with, doesn't have much in terms of zoom. It can zoom. It was between like 18 and 45 millimeters, which at first I was like, oh man, like that's awesome. Like my other camera couldn't do that. And I realized, yeah, it could. It was built in. That camera couldn't change lenses, so they made sure that it had heightened zoom. So in this one, I was like, okay, well, shoot, now because I want to get some pictures from a distance, be able to have more range at my disposal, and now I don't have a good zooming lens. So then I just went back to Best Buy and I bought a zoom lens. So again, like all in all, I ended up spending like somewhere between, I want to say like $700 to $800 in basically a stretch of like 3 or 4 days on a new camera and a new lens, but no regrets whatsoever, because I came to realize, as I have with like music, for example, when I say like me playing music professionally, which still sounds strange to say, but professionally, like I say, music is an investment. Like if I'm going to continue to play the way that I do, I need to make sure that I am willing to invest in good equipment that's going to be able to carry me. The same is exactly the truth for photography with me. Like I was like, okay, well, I'm serious about this stuff, so I can't just be relying off of a cheap $200 camera that barely has any types of features. I got to make sure that I've got a good like either DSLR, mirrorless camera, whatever it is, and got to make sure that it's able to change lenses. So that's what I did, and again, no regrets. The moment I got my zoom lens, it brought me back to one of my first ideas that I had with even my Kodak camera. Um, I haven't explicitly stated it, and I've got my reasons, but I love the full moon. I love the moon in general, but the full moon, it like there's something about it that just like so incredibly soothing and calming to me. I've had like multiple like devices, like my iPad, my phone, my laptop. I have two laptops now. Um, I've always like set like a picture of like the full moon as like a background. If I don't keep it for a long time on my phone, for example, that means that it's kept on another device so I can see it elsewhere, is the thing. And whenever I get to see the moon like just out in the night sky, it again like is always such a relaxing and like tranquil feeling for me. Like I've always loved that since I was a kid. Again, can't really explain why. That's just something that I've enjoyed. But anyway, because of that love for the moon, one of my first ideas that I had with my Kodak camera was, okay, well, when I have a chance, as long as I have the time and the weather actually calls for it and whatever, I want to get some good pictures of the moon. Like that's gonna be like my gauge of like how well I understand photography, how much I'm learning and all that type of stuff. So maybe a month ago, yeah, it was the full moon cycle that we had last month in November. There was one night where I was like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this thing. I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna take some good pictures of the moon, just get it to be like really, really nice. And so I went outside, took a couple pictures, and even back then, even though I was just like, oh yeah, man, like this is a good picture. And this was before I was using Udemy. Even back then, when I thought that that was a good picture, there was something telling me that this is not a good picture. So I just kind of I held on to it because I was like, okay, well, these are my first attempts at like photographing the moon, but I can't see any detail. It's so bright. There's just like nothing to it. It literally just looks like a glare on my lens, And what am I supposed to do about that? I don't know. Flash forward just a few weeks later now, when I start taking these courses off of Udemy and I understand more about even just, again, like all it took was understanding exposure, knowing how to adjust it. Because my question was, okay, well, if the moon, we can see the moon and its light because that's reflecting from the sun, that means that's still almost direct sunlight like shining onto my lens. How am I supposed to get a picture of the moon where it's clear and you can actually see definition? All it took was just understanding exposure, and when I came to realize that, I'm just like, really, it was that simple all along? But hindsight only goes so far, is what I keep telling myself one way or another. I'm like, I wouldn't have known. The camera, it has so many features. Like even like that basic Kodak one, it looks and feels intimidating to someone who doesn't understand how those features actually play off of one another. So I, again, like flashback again just a couple days ago at this point in time, um, and then even to last night. I've got my Canon camera, I have my zoom lens, and we had a full moon last night. I was like, okay, this is really my chance to see how much I've improved over the last couple of weeks since the beginning of November to the beginning of December. I brought my lens outside, my camera outside, um, and I just stand on my lawn. I'm like, okay, let me position myself, adjust the aperture, adjust the shutter speed, raise the ISO, whatever I got to do, and I take a picture. And again, I'm sure it's not like even the best that I could do because there's always room for improvement as the thing. But I felt so good after I took that picture. And those pictures, I should say. I always make sure to get a few is the thing just to see how they compare and how I can make them even a little different from one another. And I using the thumbnail again. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on YouTube rather, or even in my Instagram page, like the thumbnail that I used for this episode, I gave a side by side of those two moonshots, one from November, one for December, as kind of like a before and after. Just to show that again, like even just the basic understanding of like camera features is enough to make a huge difference when taking these pictures. Again, the one that I took last night, I was able to get like full definition of like the moon, like it's like the craters, the textures, all that type of stuff. And it wasn't, I was able to choose whether or not I wanted it to be a little over or under exposed. I had no idea what any of that stuff was, even just a handful of weeks ago at this point. So that really does make me feel good. And much like anything else, when it's like I start to have like a breakthrough, it just makes me want to keep going. So the way that I've been doing it with these Udemy courses, I made it a point to do at the very least one or two of these video courses every day since I started a few weeks ago, and I've held consistent to that. I think there was maybe one day or one night that I didn't get a chance to do the course, but other than that, I haven't missed a day yet. I just realized another thing that I bought over the last couple of weeks. It's been a very expensive couple of weeks, all for this photography stuff, but it's been worth it. I bought a smaller laptop so that I can take it back and forth with me when I travel and stuff. When I go to work, I'll bring it with me, do some courses when I'm on my break if I don't feel like going out and taking pictures right then and there. That's what I've been doing. And utilizing it that way, again, it's helped me to just keep on top of myself when it comes to these sorts of things. One of the other things that I want to do with this whole Udemy thing is they have, again, like I said before, they have like assignments. These guys, they put assignments into their courses as well. And I haven't done any of those as yet because I'm like, homework, I haven't been in college in a long time, but it's kind of necessary when it comes to just showing what I can do is the thing. So it's like one of the assignments that I saw was like, okay, take 3 different pictures, make sure that you can get them properly exposed and then upload them. And then the other one was like, okay, make 3 compositions, however I choose to, utilizing like depth of field and all that type of stuff, symmetry, like these different like camera, like picture qualities and like techniques and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do those because I think that those will be really helpful, and I gotta get myself set for when I do eventually go to grad school anyway. So it's been a long time since I've been a student in some way or another, and this, even though I don't personally know Sam, Phil, or Will, the guys who made this course, I really do feel right now as though like I'm their student, they're my teachers, and that's good because again, it makes me feel good in terms of like my progress. It makes me want to force myself to keep going at that too and keep improving. It's something that I want to do first and foremost. That's important about it, but at the same time, it's something that I'm really just gonna keep encouraging myself to continue with because I don't want to stop. I don't want to just ditch it and go and do something else. Um, Taking the pictures again, like I said before, I'm on the fence of whether photography or cinematography, videography, whatever you want to call it. On the fence of whether or not I'm going to go with one field or the other. But either way, this course is really helping me um, to just improve my understanding of the camera and how to use it and stuff. Again, like it's like when I try to learn a new instrument and stuff. Like I'm still learning bass guitar, teaching myself bass guitar though, and that's where part of my issues are coming in with the bass is that I realize like I would prefer to take lessons from people, like actual people, instead of trying to teach myself everything. Like I can do that sort of thing, but I only have so much time, and I would rather value my time at this point in my life. And as I continue to get older, I do really want to value my time instead of just bashing my head against the wall, trying to figure stuff out on my own, whether it's a sake of pride or whatever it is. I just don't feel like doing that anymore, as much as I can avoid it at the very least. So, all in all, I just want to say with this stuff, with the photography, like it's been coming along. It's been a lot of fun. And oh, one other thing that I'll say before I wrap up here. So at home we have a lot of construction going on in our backyard. We had our deck that we've had for like 20 years basically caved in on itself. So now we got to get a new deck rebuilt. And my mom had asked me to start using my developing camera abilities to kind of document the stuff that is being done in our backyard, like just the work, like get again like a before and after. So I took some pictures as the guys were disassembling it. When I'm done recording here, I got to go and take some more pictures of their current progress as they're laying down like the foundation and the frame and stuff. And then in a couple days, hopefully, as long as everything goes on without a hitch, I'll be able to take some more pictures of the aftermath once they're fully done with it. And I was really happy that she asked me to do that too. At first, like just the part of me on the inside that still wants to resist the idea that I can be good at these things. When she had asked me to do that, I felt like a shred of resistance, just like, I don't know about that, like whatever. But I'm just like, it's literally just taking some pictures. It's just taking pictures. I'm not doing it professionally right now. I got to get started somewhere. So when she gave that to me, that felt like a good project for myself to document again before, during, and after for this deck construction and see what I can get in terms of shots. So we'll see how that all goes. All right, so I'm going to call it there with this episode. Again, kind of different topic over the last, again, like not even 12 hours. I decided that I wanted to talk about this. Probably next week, after I've gotten more into this whole Disney December fiasco, I'll definitely be able to talk about the stuff that I'm watching this year, and as well as like the stuff that I've watched the last couple of years. I think that that'll be fun, especially as we get closer to the holidays. Just go back into like some movie discussions and like my thoughts on some of these things that I've been watching. Again, it's hard and it makes the month of December a lot busier than it already is, especially with my current work schedule. I have to really try and work in the time to talk about or to watch these films. But because I'm watching them and I'm doing it, I've committed. I'm not going to stop until December is done, and it'll give me plenty of more stuff to talk about. So that I'll probably save for next week, unless I get another spur of the moment idea. At the moment, gonna call it here. Thanks again for listening, guys. I really appreciate it. Any type of time that you decide to give to me, and just if it feels like a conversation, if you don't get to hear me a whole lot, um, well, I'm happy to provide. If that's one of the reasons why you might even be listening all the way to the end here. So I will see you guys, or you'll hear me rather. I'll put it that way in the next episode when I put that up. Take care.